Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. It is, of course, me, Kirsty Ames, on the microphone show, but it's still me. And I'm joined.
Sorry. That was the Mike Ames show. That I don't think the viewers heard that, so I've just put that right now. The Mike Ames show.
For now, it's for now. And I'm, of course, joined by Mike Ames, who appears to be wearing my grandmother's sofa. How you doing there? How you doing there, Mike?
That's very from a lumberjack, isn't it? Really? I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
I make myself laugh, and that's what's important.
Yeah, okay. But never mind about that, because we've got the talent on, haven't we, today?
Yeah, so I'm still making myself laugh. And we are, of course, joined.
You'll never get this show. You'll never get this show to yourself while I'm the second only professional on it. So get a grip.
Make myself laugh. And we are, of course, joined by Dan Alexander today. Hi, Dan.
Hey, guys. How are we doing?
We're doing well. Well, I'm still crying a little bit, but I'm doing mostly fine. And Dan, you're here today to talk to us about becoming your own coach.
I am. Yes.
You are indeed. Perfect. So, Mike and Dan, I believe you guys have crossed paths before. This is not your first rodeo.
Yes. No, it isn't. No, I'm just delighted to have Dan on the show because essentially we were looking for a recruitment trainer, really, someone that could train our clients, recruiters up. And Dan was referred to us by a couple of people, actually. So we made contact and we just realized that we were on the same wavelength for an awful lot of things. So I appeared on Dan's podcast. We talked about something completely different, but I just liked the things that he talked about and the way he put things. And I've wanted to do this kind of show, this mindset show, for a wee while now. And this is part of it. We're going to do, this is the first of two that we're going to do. Kirsty will cover that off later. But this is about the way in which you think about yourself and the way in which you train and coach yourself. Very excited. So really pleased to have you on the show, Dan.
It's an absolute pleasure to be on, guys. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, Mike, I love the shirt. I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah. Luckily, it's my show because you can come on again now. If you I don't know whether you would.
Let's not start this, right? So, I mean, we have obviously got a lot to cover today because, Dan, I could listen to you speak pretty much for a week and I think I probably wouldn't get bored. But, today we are talking about becoming your own coach. So my first question is, I think everybody knows that coaches are valuable. There's a whole industry around it. And anybody who's had a coach has always got something from it. But is it actually possible to be your own coach? And can you still get the benefits from it?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about the amount of time that you spend with a coach, right, versus when they're not with you, it's incredibly, like, you might be working with a coach for, say, like an hour a week or an hour a month, but there's a hell of a lot of time that you're not with that person. So to become better at self-coaching and self-talk and actually challenging your own BS a little bit and trying to get to where you want to get to. Coaching is all about improvement in my eyes. It's improvement upon certain areas, and it's also about changing your thinking and changing kind of really who you are. Otherwise, why have you got a coach if you're happy where you are, right? So you want to get to a certain level. So it's entirely possible to get better at self-talk. And actually, it's probably going to be not just in business, but from what I've seen in life, changing the way that you talk to yourself is going to change your whole life.
Can I just say on that, something we were discussing about off air? Sure, if you can afford a professional coach and you can find one that meets your needs, you should. I mean, there's no question. But we're talking about here either people that can't afford it or it's not practical for them, or as you say, they get like an hour a month. What about the rest of that time? This is something you can do with a coach or without, isn't it?
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's not. Yeah. Okay. If anyone out there, if you've ever used a coach or you have a coach now, that'd be awesome if you just put that in the comments, whether you have and did it work? Did you get something from that? I have personally. I might put something in the comments in a minute, actually. I've used coaches on and off for years, got one now, actually. So I'm a convert, but I'd like to know what the audience are thinking.
I mean, it's also as well, like, you think Tiger Woods has a coach, or he did.
He has about three, I think.
But Ronaldo, like, the top professionals in their game normally it goes away from. So I think there's a big difference between training and coaching. And so I'm actually both. So I'm a recruitment trainer where I'll give people the basic one-on-one foundational stuff. But then eventually what happens is the relationship changes and they want to just get better and better and better. Now there's nothing that really, Tiger Woods' golf coach can teach him about golf. So why does he pay him probably a lot of money? Is because it at a certain point performance does get mental. And all the top athletes, the top Olympians, they all use Ronnie O'Sullivan used a guy called Professor Steve Peters, wrote the Chimp Paradox. Knew nothing about snooker, but then he went on to win several championships after that.
There's a famous coach called Bob Rotella, and you can read his book. He's brilliant. He's just a sports coach. Does all sorts. There's golfers, pro footballers, loads of things. And you're right. It's the way in which you think, isn't it? And it applies to pretty much anything, any sport, and also business. As I say, I'm a big fan, actually.
Yeah,
I think it's also limited. Sorry, Kirsty.
No, I was just going to say, I think coaches, for me, the big thing I like about them is my brain is a little bit like, imagine like 14 spaniel puppies who've just had their food. Like, that's what my brain's like sometimes when coaches sort of allow you to focus or not. I think when you're in business, especially if you're a leader of a business, you have so many things that you have to have your finger in, so many pies that a coach can help you with that. And to be able to do that yourself, the majority, which is sort of what you've made an excellent point when you said that if I see my coach 1 hour a week, the rest of the time is all me anyway. So to be able to take control over that and to be able to push myself and be the best person myself, like at least until I'm in a better place where I can hire someone or find someone who works, seems immensely powerful to me.
It absolutely is. Absolutely is. And the secret as well, if people, we're talking about something slightly different, but if you did go down the coaching route, and we can talk about this a bit later, the other options you've got, it doesn't have to cost you a hell of a lot of money. And the person doesn't have to be better than you at the activity that you want. Coaching is about asking great questions, which again, we can come on to a bit later.
Yeah, I think actually that's a great place to go into this now, because whilst coaching is, and like I said, everybody accepts it's something that's valuable, is not everybody is in that position. Not everybody either has the finance now, or has time now, or whatever it might be. They have some sort of block for it. So let's look at actually what it means to do it for yourself. So there are a couple of things that sort of breaks down to, aren't there?
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing is to be aware, right? Be aware of your self-talk and be aware of the language that you're using and be aware of how you're talking to yourself. And I think that they call it, I don't want to get too sort of in jargon, right? But they call it going meta, right? Which means to rise above. So to look at yourself from like a top-down perspective and think, right, okay, how can I? And we're so entranced, right, in the way that you blink and it's 3 o'clock and you've gone through the day and you've not really been that conscious or aware or present in the moment, right? So it's to be able to sort of snap out of that sort of trance of just going through the motions and sort of take a step back and go, actually, okay, how do I think about the way that I'm thinking right now? And how do I feel about the way that I'm feeling right now, right? So those are 2 questions that allow you to go meta and to sort of disassociate from the life that's on rails, right? So if you ask yourself those 2 questions, how do I think about the way that I'm thinking right now, and how do I feel about the way that I'm feeling?
So what kind of answers would somebody give themselves to those questions, do you think? What kind of things would you expect them to say?
It sets off a pretty so if you're feeling, if you're not in a good place or a good, what you call like a good state of mind, right? And you're in that mode. Most people, when they say, well, how do I feel about, if you're really angry about something or you're upset because maybe a deal's dropped out or something's happened in business that you're not happy about, and people go on what you call like go on tilt, right? Where you throw the toys out the pram and you walk out of the room. I mean, that's not a desirable state to be in to get anything done. So you think, well, if you ask yourself that question at that time, you recognize, you think, oh God, I feel a bit crap, right? How do I feel about the way I'm feeling right now? How do I think about the way I'm thinking right now? I don't feel great. So then that leads you then on to the next question in coaching, which would be like, okay, well, so what can I do about it? What can I do about the way that I'm thinking right now, right? So the way that you think, and this is the thing in terms of language is so important. So important. I did terrible English at school, and I wish I could go back and redo it and actually learn all the lessons again, because I believe words. You've ever seen that like 9% of communication is your words, and 38% is your tone, and then the rest is your body language. I've gone completely full circle on that. I think actually it's complete BS, and I'd say that it's more like maybe 60% is the actual words that you use, because those words become your thoughts. The thoughts become your actions become your habits, and your habits define your life.
Right.
So you go back.
I read somewhere, in fact, it was in a book on habits, funnily enough, that something like 94% of what we do every single day is habitual.
Yes.
It's enormous.
Wow.
That's the sort of thing where you've gone somewhere, drive to work back in the day, and you get there and you can't remember the journey because you were on autopilot. That's habit. That's habit that does that. And I believe this. I think if you want to be successful, you can set good habits or bad habits, and good habits are productive habits. Bad habits are not productive. They're indulgent or wasteful.
Yeah.
And so I totally get behind this. And it starts with the way in which you think and speak to yourself and goes all the way through. And I think there's a lot of people that view this. In fact, I had a comment on it, which is why I put it into the post, as being a bit happy clappy. But then Tiger Woods would not spend £100,000 per coach a year, because I think he's got 3, if it was happy clappy. You know, it's this, you think yourself a winner, don't you? I mean, ultimately,
absolutely, and that is a limiting belief in itself. This is happy clappy, like it's label, it's definitive, and actually, I'd actually say that that it's the biggest thing you can do for yourself, and it's the kindest gift you can give yourself is to challenge if you want to change. Like, and the other point I'm going to make here to you guys and also all the viewers is that people mistake self-development for fun. And it's not like it's not always fun to go through and process this stuff. It takes, imagine this is a workout for your brain, right? Well, if it's a workout for your body and you've never exercised before, well, the first time you go in the gym, it's going to be pretty sore. Right. And this is the same thing. So people will go through and they'll book me for 3 hours for for a group of people, or it might be a day, and they'll go out and they'll mentally that was just too much, because it's like booking a PT when you've never even stepped foot in the gym to begin with. So to begin with, it's like self-development isn't fun. So to work through this stuff isn't always enjoyable, but you will get better and you will feel better.
I think I have a similar analogy that I use, which is, have you ever, in your kitchen, you'll have a cupboard that will have pans in, right, pots in, or loads of things. And coaching and self-development and sort of therapy, if you're into that, is essentially what you have to do is take all of the stuff out of the cupboard. So then your kitchen's a massive mess and it's all awkward and you've got less organized than you were before. But then you put everything back in such a way that it all fits perfectly and you can access loads of things easily, and you throw away the bits that you don't need. But the whole process isn't just clicking your fingers and you're magically fixed. And I think understanding, though, that most of the work that you do comes from you anyway. Like your coach, if you pay for one, just sort of gives you put nudges here and there. But if you're doing most of the work anyway, then taking control of your thoughts, taking control of that, is essentially, you have to do all of the work, even if someone's pointing vague directions for you to run. So it makes a lot of sense to do this yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point, Kirsty. I think that you sometimes, the teacher appears when the student is ready, and you can have the right advice and you're not ready for that advice, because you can know all the answers to your own questions, but actually not do it. Like, so again, the one I always use is fitness. It's a great example. People mostly know what they've got to do to if that's their goal to get fit, right? But why don't they do it?
I feel like a victim here. I feel like people are picking on me on this one. Just so this my study where I'm filming this is on top of a gym, just so as everyone knows. I don't go down there very often. Anyway, good analogy. Yeah, can we move on quickly?
We're talking about you're a fine figure of a man, Mike. Look at you.
I'm a fine figure of two men, and you know it.
Well, you're not as dapper as Dan, but we'll allow it. We'll move on from here.
Yeah, Dan's all slick and svelte, makes me.
And I'm here as a lumberjack, and you're wearing Nan's curtains.
yeah, whatever. Anyway, yeah, no, it's a fair point. I'm sorry I got diversified there, but I think, you know, when I talk to people, when I coach people, this is what I am. Half of what I do is coaching, half of what I do is consultancy. When I coach people, it really is about getting them to accept certain changes in their head. First one, for example, as we discussed yesterday on the podcast, is you are no longer an artisan like a recruiter or a lawyer, whatever it is, that owns a business, and then your head is around the thing that you do. That is the wrong mentality. The right mentality, the right language from a meta point of view, from the top down, from a helicopter looking down, is I am now a business owner that happens to do recruitment or the law or IT or whatever. It's a big change. And it doesn't sound very much. In fact, it's tiny. It's the same words jumbled up, really. Hugely different, massively different. And it's the first step. So you don't see a lot of change from just changing that language, but you are now on a different path that will take you to a completely different place. But if you don't change the words, you're stuck on this path, and that's going nowhere. It's going round and round in circles. So I am 100% behind this, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to come on the show. Really,
this is interesting. It's going off on a slightly. It's not sort of coaching per se, but it is in a way. So what we're talking about here is like there's a different kind of layers of, I guess, called like neurological levels, right? Different levels of change. I don't want to get too deep too quickly. But basically, you've got your environment, you've then got your behaviors, you've got your skills, you've got your values, you've got your beliefs, and then you've got your identity. And the way that you see yourself, like the I am, is an identity statement. So if you can change like and for me, there's one beyond that, which is like your purpose, right? Some people call what's your why. So for me, when I had my little girl, my why changed. But telling people to go and have kids is terrible business advice because, like, you know, it's a pretty permanent solution to probably a short-term problem, right? But the identity you can change, which is, again, it's language. So changing the way that you see yourself, the I am. Like for me, I'm trying to get I do a lot of work with recruiters, right? And I'm really about old school methods and headhunting and actually sort of proactively picking up the phone. And one thing that I'll teach people to do is how to switchboard and how to go through switchboards to get through to people, and they don't feel comfortable doing it because it's like, I'm a recruiter. But you shift the language and you shift their identity to I'm a headhunter, right? Yeah. Suddenly that's just the behavior of headhunters. It's just what they do. So you shift the language to I am a business owner, or I am, and everything changes.
Yeah.
I think this is why it's so important. Language and positioning is so important. Like you said there, it's the same thing. You're picking up a telephone, trying to speak to somebody. Think of it in one way, and it's kind of, you're kind of heading to failure and rejection and a whole bunch of other stuff. Put the same thing in a completely different way, and you're on a mission now. Yeah. And it's different, isn't it?
On that, I just want to sort of jump in now because I'm a sucker for timings. But on this, I really want to get into what people can actually do. Like, it's all well and good us talking about how good it is and changing our thoughts, but some people that's quite big picture, and we like to be really, really focused. So what are the first sort of steps that people can take in order to become their own coach and start to help them to change that language to be more positive and helpful for them moving forward?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to understand that is to accept that you want to improve, right? So in whatever area of your life that it is, it's accepting the fact that you want to improve and then going, right, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? Then it's asking yourself, like, right, okay, well, understanding what you want as well is key. So, like, what do I actually want in life? What's the thing that I'm looking to get? And when that's the first thing. Most people don't know what they want. I'm unhappy. Well, what do you want? I don't know, right? I'm not sure. So, well, be clear on what it is that you want, because unless it's the old proverb, like, man with no target hit nothing. Like, it's, you've got to be clear in terms of what I'm actually driving towards, right?
Before we press on from that one, because I know we're on for time and everything, but when I work with people around this, when I first start work with them, if you want to go to the next level on that, I can help you with it right now. 5 questions. How much do I want to earn? What's the work-life balance that I want? What do I want to do when I get to work? Job satisfaction. What does financial independence look like? And do I have a higher purpose? Do I have a mission which is above just making a bit of money? That's a great starting place. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers the main thing that your business can do for you. So it doesn't cover like, do you want to get fit and have a better relationship and all that stuff? But in your business, that's the main thing, those 5 things, the main things that the business will give you. And a great starting place is to write down what you want from your business. You know, I think that's just brilliant. We talked about it yesterday, didn't we? And I think it's so important.
They say what you you know, when you ink, you think, right? And to actually physically write things down on paper, it sort of it beats down that path more, and it makes it more real. And you'd be surprised, even if you write something out, or there's even like things like if you write it with the opposite hand as well, there's all sorts of ways you can go down in terms of psychology. Because if you write on the left with your left hand, it uses the left side of your brain.
I mean, I can barely write with my right hand. If I wrote it would be just squid. It would be hieroglyphics.
Very true. I've seen Kirsty's writing. I'm going to try that later. I really like the sound of that. That's really kooky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And because you've also got the time to it takes a lot more effort to do it. You've also got more time to think about what it is that you're actually writing as well. And it's quite a creative process.
I think those nuances come across when you read it back and you think, oh, actually, that's not quite what I mean. I'll just cross that out. And whereas when it's in your inner monologue, when it's in your head, your brain goes, yeah, I know what I mean. Whereas you write it down, you're like, that's not actually what I mean. I just need to use a slightly different word, which is sort of part of the process that you discuss so often. Just changing those words around to be more positive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the second thing would be to understand, like, why do you want it, which I guess is the purpose, right? So why do you want what it is? Why is it important? Because often there's all these different coaching models that you can go through. There's one called SCORE. There's one called well-formed outcomes, and you can go through like coaching model, and it will give you a series of questions. You can even ask them to yourself, right? But to understand, like, why do I want it? Like, is it important? How else is this going to impact me in terms of other areas of my life?
Would you be thinking of outcomes here then? So if I did that thing, or if this problem was taken away, or if I achieved this objective, or however you want to put it, then this would be the situation. Is that why you're looking at this is a situation that you want, something that is desirable?
Because often in life, right, we're not just one person. So like, say for instance, the business Kirsty might be very different to the personal Kirsty, right? And maybe the business Kirsty wants to take over the world and think, right, okay, I'm just going to focus on my business. And
she just wants to take over the My Game show.
I'm just starting on this show. That's what it is. I'm just starting on the show.
Maybe, right, but then maybe that's your goal. But then you think about, what's the cost? Well, the cost is relationships, personal space, maybe mental health, or the rest of it, or Mike coming for you. But like, is it something that you really want? And often in life, we know what we want, or we say we know what we want things, but actually there's a different part of you that doesn't want the same thing. So actually people are like, right, I want to be the top performer. I want to bill X amount, or I want to invoice this amount. But the cost of getting there, you're actually deep down not prepared to pay the price to do it.
That's very interesting.
So it's actually easier to let it go than to live in this sort of lie where you say you want something you actually don't.
Someone once said to me that, in fact, it was one of my old physical trainer coachy chappies. He said, success is not about desire; it's about sacrifice. It doesn't matter how badly you want something; that doesn't really count. What counts is how much you're prepared to sacrifice to get it. And I wasn't prepared to sacrifice enough for those people who are interested. So I stuck with the lager in the end.
To win out. And I suppose the other part of that as well is that sometimes the things that you think you want aren't necessarily what you want. They're either expectations from society or expectations from previous colleagues, especially if you grew up in a business and they told you this is what success looks like. But then you sit down and think, is that actually what my success looks like, or is it something different? So I suppose it's not only figuring out why you want it, but an actual fact is, do you actually want it? Because I think
that's a really good point, Kirsty. And also when you become actually aligned with yourself. So when like, 'cause if you're like, oh yeah, I want to get fit, or I want to get like a 6-pack for summer and stuff. If that deep down actually you really don't want that, when you stop telling yourself and telling others, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, and like, you know, and you actually live in alignment, go, actually, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at with things right now. On this, I'm going to focus on this area of my life or whatever. You live a much more centered life, and it's like in business, that's so true as well. Like people say they want to be the top performer, but actually they just want to go to work and earn, you know.
This has been an awesome show for me now, because I'm just going to stay as I am.
Not for you. Not for you. Not for
I'm
you.
not going to feel guilty. I know Kirsty wouldn't bring this up, but I just want to bring that up there. Well done, Kirsty, from Julia. Well done.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, we coached each other, which is you know, when you're having those discussions, when we were talking about earlier about finding your own coach, is that sometimes, or when you're figuring out what you want in life, is yes, a lot of this work is internal and you're driving it, but having conversations with people who are, you know, Julia and I have different sort of audiences, but we're at a similar point, and she has such insight, and then she's removed from my life, so she has excellent insight to me, and I have it to her as well. So those discussions, whilst you can have them and write them down and do all of these things, sometimes taking them out to friends or colleagues that you trust or people that you get on with, that's also a great way of doing this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree more. And it doesn't have to cost you, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds each month. Like it can be free if you get someone that you trust. The key is it's about the questions that you ask, right? So it's about asking great questions, and it's also it's about not, when you're coaching somebody, it's about not becoming caught up in the content and trying to give them answers. So you're trying to give them freedom and space to make their own decisions and kind of the space to think. And actually, the better you become at coaching other people, going back to this subject, you can then actually apply to self and think, well, okay, you catch yourself thinking these certain things, and you think, well, what advice did I give Julie, or did I give Kirsty? What advice would I give myself right now if I was coaching somebody else? And that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Okay, so we've got somebody's now asked themselves, what do I want in life? Then they've figured out why they want it. So they've actually figured out that they do want it and the reasons why. What's the third step for them to do?
Okay, cool. The first step is to think, right, okay, what's the action I can take? What's the one thing I can do right now? What is the step in the right direction? How can I get it? Right. And then to take action, because everything in life is about taking action. Right. So it's all well and good thinking, like, you know, to go back to the challenge from the person that wrote in the comments. All positive thing is great, but yeah, positive thinking, if it doesn't lead to positive actions, is it positive at all? Like it's about like what changes can you make? And I'm on this journey at the moment. There's a book I'm reading called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he goes like deep, like real deep, and it's very much a case of we're thinking, and it's like the law of attraction, how when you think you actually do change your brain chemistry, because when it gets down to it, your thoughts are like energy, right? And your brain is made up of particles, and particles are made up of atoms, and the atoms are made up of subatomic matter, and then that subatomic matter at the lowest level of physics, you're looking at like a particle is just energy. And actually by thinking and changing, you're actually applying energy to certain areas. It's very, very, very deep. And like, I would not advise anyone to start there. But the whole point,
I've not put that on my reading list.
Build up to that one. Build up to it.
Positive thinking, it really should have a positive action, and then that's what makes it. It's the actions that change your life. Yeah. So what are you going to do differently?
Yeah, it's all well and good sort of figuring out what you want, but if you just go, I want to be number one, and I really do want it. It's sort of nothing really happens. You have to kind of go, okay, so what's in the way of me getting there? What do I need to change in order to get there? Do I need to do this? Do I need to coach in that? Do I need to stop doing this so I can focus on that? And that as a business owner, I think is so powerful when you're in business, is that so often we get distracted by things. Mike, you're an absolute thing for this. Trying not to swear, because you do things because you like to do them and you enjoy them, but they aren't actually going to help you achieve your aims. And so having this in your life and being like, I enjoy that, but ultimately if this is really what I want, I have to lessen it, or I have to start saying no, or
you know, the problem,
give that to someone else.
I've achieved almost everything that I want to. I know that sounds terrible, but I'm old. You know, I'm older, much older than most people listening to this show, I guess. So it's not like when I was 30, I was a completely different person. because there's so much to achieve and so much to do. But now I'm just thinking, well, coming to the end of my career, I don't really want to make money or anything really. I just want to enjoy what I do every day, and that indulgence does cost me, and it just costs the business. I know that, which is why you keep nagging me, and Melanie keeps having a go, and Pete does. I get it, and I'm fine with it. But it is, I think, when you're in different places, it's like Dan was saying earlier, if you don't inside really want something, then it probably ain't going to happen, is it? So
yeah,
if you want it, you'll do it. You'll take the actions.
Yeah,
I think just on this last point, guys, is also, what's stopping me from getting there? What's the thing that's in my way? What's the bottleneck? But it's not about going, what can I do? Because there's probably lots of things. It's what's the one thing that I can do right now that will make the biggest difference to the outcome.
That's very interesting. So I'd take away Mike's access to his diary. That would be the one for me to help him achieve it, because he puts things in.
Or make me 30 again. That would do it. No, it's a fair comment, actually. It does warrant some serious thought. I mean, what would be the thing now? Because we're coming to the end. I know Kirsty wants to wrap up in a minute, but what would be the thing if someone's sitting there thinking, okay, I've got through the happy clappy, I can see how this might work for me. It's worked for lots and lots of other people, professional sportsmen and business people. What have I got to do first? I can't afford a coach. What am I going to do first?
I think the best thing to do was there's okay, I'm going to give you two answers, right? There's a short term and there's a bigger one for people that want to go a bit deeper. The short term right now is to write down those 3 questions on a piece of paper and to sit there and actually work through them. Take 15 minutes yourself, take yourself away from whatever distraction you've got, and actually work out, okay, what do I want? Right? And that could be business related, it can be recruitment focused, it can be whatever, right? So what is it that I really want? Why is that important to me? Why do I want it? And what's the bottleneck, or what can I do? What's the one thing I can do right now to actually to get me one step closer to that goal? And it's about steps, right? That if you've got a big goal, you don't get there from A to Z straight away. You've got a lot of different steps to get there, right? And the second thing I'll give the listeners, if they want to go a little bit deeper, you can look at something called meta modeling in neurolinguistic programming, which is all about kind of challenging these kind of thought patterns. And there's about 30 patterns there that you can use. But I think that to do the first thing first, write down those 3 questions, work through them, and kind of write down what it is that you want, document it, and then start taking action towards the things that you want in life.
Good advice.
I'm a big fan of this. Well, I mean, I genuinely, I could listen to you talk for the rest of the day, but I have things to do, and you have things to do, and everybody else watching this has things to do. So thank you so much to Dan. It's been truly an absolute pleasure having you on the show. It's been fascinating. I am annoyed that I have to end this, but I do. Mike, thank you so much for just being you, just being your magnificent self on today's show.
One tries one's best.
One tries one's best.
The viewers,
one tries one's best. And thank you so much to everybody who watches. We love having you here as well. So as always, if there's anything that you want us to talk about, either let us know in the comments or direct message me and Mike. And until then, next week we have Alan Kenny, I believe, isn't it, Mike?
Think we do, yes.
And we're going to sort of be continuing on a similar theme.
It's the second half of this, the way in which you think is what happens to you, basically, yeah.
Perfect. So we shall see everybody next week. I'll see you guys later.